Sadhubhushana. Translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. The symptoms of a sadhu are that he is tolerant, merciful, friendly to all living entities. He has no enemies. He is peaceful. He abides by the scriptures, and all his characteristics are sublime. Very nice verse. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. A sadhu, as described above, is a devotee of the Lord. His concern, therefore, is to enlighten people in devotional service to the Lord. That is his mercy. He knows that without devotional service to the Lord, human life is spoiled. A devotee travels all over the country, from door to door, preaching. Be Krishna conscious. Be a devotee of Lord Krishna. Don't spoil your life in simply fulfilling your animal propensities. Human life is meant for self-realization, for Krishna consciousness. These are the preachings of a sadhu. He is not satisfied with his own liberation. He always thinks about others. He is most compassionate personality. He is the most compassionate personality toward all the fallen souls. One of his qualifications, therefore, is karunika, great mercy to the fallen souls. While engaged in preaching work, he has to meet with so many opposing elements, and therefore the sadhu or devotee of the Lord has to be very tolerant. Someone may ill treat him because the conditioned souls are not prepared to receive the transcendental knowledge of devotional service. They do not like it. That is their disease. The sadhu has the thankless task of impressing upon them the importance of devotional service. Sometimes devotees are personally attacked with violence. Lord Jesus Christ was crucified. Haridas Thakur was caned in 22 marketplaces. And Lord Chaitanya's principal assistant, Nityananda, was violently attacked by Chagai and Madai. But still, they were tolerant because their mission was to deliver the fallen souls. One of the qualifications of a sadhu is that he is very tolerant and is merciful to all fallen souls. He is merciful because he is the well-wisher of all living entities. He is not only a well-wisher of human society, but a well-wisher of animal society as well. It is said here, Sarva Dehinam, which indicates all living entities who are well. It is said here, Sarva Dehinam, which indicates all living entities who have accepted material bodies. Not only does the human being have a material body, but other living entities, such as cats and dogs, also have material bodies. The devotee of the Lord is merciful to everyone, the cats, dogs, trees, etc. He treats all living entities in such a way that they can ultimately get salvation from this material entanglement. Shivananda Sena, one of the disciples of Lord Chaitanya, gave liberation to a dog by treating the dog transcendentally. There are many instances where a dog got salvation by association with a sadhu, because a sadhu engages in the highest philanthropic activities for the benediction of all living entities. Yet, although a sadhu is not inimical towards anyone, the world is so ungrateful that even a sadhu has many enemies. What is the difference between an enemy and a friend? It is a difference in behavior. A sadhu behaves with all conditioned souls for their ultimate relief from material entanglement. Therefore, no one can be more friendly than a sadhu in relieving a conditioned soul. A sadhu is calm, and he quietly and peacefully follows the principles of Scripture. A sadhu means one who follows the principles of Scripture, and at the same time is a devotee of the Lord. One who actually follows the principles of Scripture must be a devotee of God because all the Shastras instruct us to obey the orders of the personality of Godhead. Sadhu, therefore, means a follower of the scriptural injunctions and a devotee of the Lord. All these characteristics are prominent in a devotee. A devotee develops all the good qualities of the demigods, whereas a non-devotee, even though academically qualified, has no actual good qualifications or good characteristics according to the standards of transcendental realization. Haribol, Haribol, Haribol. Okay, so this verse today is a famous verse, actually. Uh, why do we say it's a famous verse? Because it is often repeated by devotees. Titik Shava Karunika Srihida Sarvadehinam Ajita Satrava Santa Sadavan Sadhu Bhushana. And this verse says that the symptoms of a sadhu are that he is tolerant, merciful, and friendly to all living entities. He has no enemies. He is peaceful. He abides by the scriptures, and all his characteristics are sublime. And this is a wonderful verse, and we should pay a lot of attention to this verse, uh, especially when it says Titikshava Karuni. So Titikshava means tolerant, and Karunika means merciful. And then Suhida, it's known as friendly, and Sarvadehinam to all living entities. Ajata Satrava is he's not inimical or inimical to none. And Santa means he's peaceful. And Sadhava, he abides by scriptures. And Sadhu Bhusana, he is adorned with sublime characteristics. So you can see every word in this verse has very profound meanings. And it's describing who is a genuine sadhu. Therefore, the verse says, the symptoms of a sadhu are that he is tolerant, merciful, and friendly to all living entities. He has no enemies. He is peaceful. He abides by the scriptures, and all his characteristics are sublime. Okay, so how to become a sadhu? To associate with sadhus. That's how you become a sadhu. And you develop these wonderful uh, qualities, especially says here in the purport, a sadhu is described above, as described above, is the devotee of the Lord. His concerns, therefore, his concern, therefore, is to enlighten people in devotional service to the Lord. Well, that's exactly what Prabhupada did. he enlightened people in devotional service to the Lord. That is his mercy. He knows that without devotional service to the Lord, human life is spoiled. Yeah, people become addicted to bad habits, and that can go through their whole life right up to the moment of death when they may realize that, oh my God, I did not really do what I was supposed to do. Just like this one man, he was on his deathbed, and, and they called the doctor. When the doctor came, he used a stethoscope, and he uh, did some analysis of the condition of the man, and then he he looked at the relatives, and he shook his head. And the dying man saw this, and he grabbed the hand of the doctor, and he said, "Doctor, give me another 4 years. I haven't finished everything I had to do." And the doctors, uh, took his hand away, you know, and he just walked out, you know. So this man was like, in his 80 years, and he had 80 years to do all the things that he had to do. But and even though he's 80 years old, he's asking the doctor to give him another 4 years so he can finish all the things he had to do, as if he didn't have enough time. 80 years old. So we have to be careful, when Krishna says, "Okay, that's it, you're done." Uh, there's no, "Oh, give me another 4 years. I didn't finish everything I wanted to do." Well, you had 80 years to finish whatever you wanted to do. So we have to be cognizant of the fact that we could die anytime. So if you're going to get something done, you better get it done as early as possible, because we don't really know when we're going to die. So the more we get done, the fewer things we're going to regret not doing. So the best thing to do is to become Krishna conscious. That's the best thing. So then Krishna has something to work with. What do I mean by that? Well, if you do nothing for Krishna, there's nothing that you can ask Krishna to remember of the service you've done. But if you've done a lot of service for Krishna, then you can ask him, "Well, please remember all the service I've done." So it's not, "Please remember all the nonsense I've done." That's not you're not going to get any positive points by Krishna remembering all the nonsense we've done. But if we ask Krishna, "Please remember all the nice things I've done for you," okay, there is something substantial. Uh, but you don't even have to ask Krishna to remember all the good things we've done, all the service that we've performed, because Krishna knows. Uh, but if we haven't done anything, then we can't ask Krishna to remember all the good things we've done, because we didn't do anything for the Lord. We were just engaged in sense gratification, eating, sleeping, mating, and defending, and basically wasting our time hanging around with nonsense people and getting more and more entangled in the laws of material nature, breaking those laws of material nature or dharma. So that should not be uh, our, let's say, culture. Our culture should be Krishna consciousness. We're always remembering Krishna and engaging in the service to please Krishna and and to help others become Krishna conscious. So Mahatma is a synonym of sadhu. It means the same thing, a saintly person. It is said that service to a Mahatma, or elevated devotee of the Lord, is Dwaram Ahur Vimukte, the royal road of liberation. It's a very nice statement. We should all be on the royal road of liberation. Mahatsevam Dwaram Ahur Vimuktes. Tamo Dwaram Yositam Sangi Sangam. Srimad Bhagavatam 5.5.2. Rendering service to the materialist has the opposite effect. Rendering service to the materialist has the opposite effect. If anyone offers service to a gross materialist or a person engaged only in sense enjoyment, then by association with such a person, the door to hell is opened. The same principle is confirmed here. Attachment to a devotee is attachment to the service of the Lord, because if one associates with a sadhu, the result will be that the sadhu will teach him how to become a devotee, a worshiper, and a sincere servitor of the Lord. These are the gifts of a sadhu. If we want to associate with a sadhu, we cannot expect him to give us instructions on how to improve our material condition, but he will give us instructions on how to cut the knot of the contamination of material attraction and how to elevate ourselves in devotional service. That is the result of associating with the sadhu. Kapila Muni, first of all, instructs that the path of liberation begins with such association. So there was once a man who was very attracted by this very pretty lady, and he was always trying to get her to bow down to his sensual desires. So finally, the lady said, "Now look, you're very interested in me. Is that right?" He said, "Yes, I am." So she said, "You come back in a week, and then I'll be ready to please you." So he said, "Why do I have to wait a week?" She said, "Well, no, that's my condition. Otherwise, go away." He said, "No, no, no. Okay, I'll wait 1 week, but I wait in protest." Anyway, he went away, and during that week, she took a lot of uh, she basically uh, took enemas, and she vomited a lot, and all of those different liquids she kept in a big uh, pail. So 1 week goes by where she's been vomiting and she's been passing stool and urine, and she kept it all in a big pail. And then he came back, and when he came back, she had her hair and head covered, and he couldn't see her face so much. So he said, "Oh, my dear darling, let me see your beautiful face." So when she opened up her veil, she looked like an old lady, because all week long she was passing stool and urine, and she kept it all in a big pail. And he said, "Oh my God," she said, "what happened to your beauty?" She said, "Oh, it's in the pail." So he looked into the pail, and all he saw was stool and urine and pus. And he said, "What happened to you?" She said, "Well, there's my beauty." And so ultimately, that's a fact. Uh, the body is made of all these let's say unsavory things: stool, urine, pus, blood, and so forth. So therefore, there's a saying that beauty is skin deep, is only skin deep. That means skin deep. Well, the thickness of the skin is maybe, I don't know, not even of a quarter inch. It's less than that, right? Uh, and then the rest is uh, blood and veins and bone and stool and urine and so forth. So the body is actually a bag of all those not so nice things, right? And we have to deal with that. That's part of the body. It's not the soul, but it's part of the body. So those people who are only interested in the body, they're dealing with something that is not so nice. That beauty is only skin deep. So when you go, like not even a quarter of an inch, less than that, into the body, you end up with blood, urine, stool, bones, and so forth. So therefore, devotees understand how ephemeral this so-called beauty is. And real beauty is understood as the culture of a person, the culture of Krishna consciousness. So they might have a horrible looking body, they might be deformed also, but they're actually a beautiful person because they're engaged always in devotional service. But a person who's not Krishna conscious, even if they're the most handsome person or most beautiful woman, they're actually ugly because they have bad behavior and bad desires. So how to gauge or how to understand if someone is actually beautiful? Well, they're beautiful because of their devotion to Krishna, their devotion and love of Krishna. That makes a person beautiful. A person is not beautiful because they have nice clothing or because they have makeup on and they have money or they're full of muscles or whatever. They're beautiful if they're Krishna conscious. So that's the real criterion of beauty. Someone who's Krishna conscious, who always speaks nicely, who always speaks of Krishna and devotional service, who engages in devotional service, who is gentle and kind and full of love and devotion for Krishna. That's a beautiful person. They might be ugly physically, but actually, they're not this body. They are this uh, dedication to the Lord that makes them beautiful. It's not the skin deep of beauty, it's the heartfelt uh, service to the Lord that makes them beautiful. So there are different types of uh, beauty, but the beauty of a pure devotee is the best, whether it's a man or a woman, because they are full of mercy, full of um, Krishna consciousness, and always sharing their Krishna consciousness with others. So when you come in contact with a genuine devotee, you feel very peaceful and happy because this person is not engaged in exploiting anyone, rather to enrich everyone with their Krishna consciousness. What is Krishna consciousness? It's always thinking of Krishna with love and devotion and engaging in the service of the Lord without any vacation. It's not that they're doing something, they're paid to be a devotee. So they act like a devotee because they're being paid. There's no question of being paid to be a devotee. Either you are or you aren't, but it's not a question of being paid uh, so that you're acting. Okay. Uh, so this verse, Tatikshava Karanika Sirida Sarvadehinam Ajata Satravan Santa Sadhana Sadhava Sadhubhusanam. Every word has deep meaning in this verse. Titikshva means tolerant. Karunika means merciful. Sturhita means friendly. Sarvadehinam means to all living entities. Ajata Satrava means inimical to none. In other words, one is kind to all living entities and doesn't have one bad bone. That's a why don't you look that up? You know, a person has not doesn't have even one bad bone in their body. So that's a colloquial way of referring to someone who's very good. They don't have one bad bone in their body. That's why it says, and like I said, every word in this verse has very deep meaning, especially Ajata Satrava. One is not inimical to anyone, and Sadhava means they abide by scriptures. Sadhubhusana means they're adorned with sublime characteristics. Every word in this verse. Titikshava Karunika Srida Sarvadehinam Ajita Satrava Santa Sadhuva Sadhubhusana. Every word has deep spiritual meaning. What does it say?
The phrase bad bone can be interpreted as a metaphor.
Want to say that again?
The phrase one bad bone can be interpreted as a metaphor, suggesting that someone doesn't have a single negative quality.
Right.
Often it's used as not a bad bone in their body, to mean a person is entirely good or kind-hearted.
Right. So that's a metaphor. A metaphor means you refer to something in a different way. So if you want to say, oh, he's a very good person, you can also say he doesn't have one bad bone in the body. Huh?
Common idiom.
Yes. Look up the word idiom. It's a different way of referring to something. Usually learning a reference to something else to, let's say, explain a good quality of a person. Yes.
An idiom is a phrase or expression whose meaning is different from the literal meaning of the individual words. Idioms are commonly used in everyday language to convey ideas or emotions in a more creative or colorful way. They often reflect cultural nuances and are specific to a language or group of people. For example, the idiom, it's raining cats and dogs, doesn't literally mean animals are falling from the sky. It means it's raining very heavily. Similarly, break a leg means good luck, especially before a performance. Idioms often can be understood by translating them word by word, which makes them interesting but sometimes tricky for non-native speakers to grasp.
Yeah, when you say, oh, he doesn't have one bad bone in his body. So, yeah, it's nice to speak some insight into someone. So, um,
Hey, what's up? Feel free to ask me about anything that's on your mind.
yeah, Krishna consciousness. Karunatika, Trihita Savadinam, Ajata Satrava Santa, Sadavam Sadhubhusanam. And so each word has deep meaning. So Titikshva means tolerant. Karunika means mercy. Suhita means friendly. Sarvadehinam, to all living entities. Ajita Satrava, inimical to none. Santa means peaceful. Sadava, abides by scriptures. Sadhubhusana, adorned with sublime every word is very, very deep meaning. Every word has deep, genuine sadhu, bad qualities at all good qualities, and very merciful, very surrendered to the Lord, and very respectful toward all other living entities, not just human beings, but animals also. Okay. And there was this one sadhu. So he was he was always kind and gentle. And one day there was what do you call those things? There was a not an insect, but anyway, there was some creature that bit him, and it was very painful. And bitten. He was just meditating, and this very dangerous creature, scorpion. Yeah, scorpion. Sorry, thank you very much. Yes, scorpion. A scorpion climbed up this tree and went out on a branch, and it fell into the water, a lake. And so the branch, there was a tree on the edge of walked up the tree and walked to the edge of a branch of the tree, and he fell into the pond, and he was going to die. And the sadhu immediately got up from his meditation and picked up the scorpion and put it back on earth, put it back on a safe place. And as he picked it up, the scorpion bit him, but he didn't throw it away. He put it back in a safe place, and then he went back to meditate. Although he had a painful arm now, and the scorpion and went out on a limb of the tree, and again fell into the lake. And the sadhu again picked up the scorpion, and the scorpion bit him again. And then he placed it again on the dry land. So someone was watching this. It happened like 3, 4 times. And he went up to the sadhu and he said, why are you trying to save the life of that horrible scorpion? You know, and sadhu said, well, the scorpion has to bite, and the sadhu has to be merciful. So the scorpion can't stop biting, and I can't stop being merciful. That was his answer. So, yeah, a real sadhu cannot stop being merciful. And the scorpion, of course, by nature, cannot stop biting people. So when you have that good qualification with sadhu, then you cannot all of a sudden turn into being a mean person and hurting people. You always are helping people. So that's the qualification of a sadhu. It says here, a sadhu, as described above, is a devotee of the Lord. His concern, therefore, is to enlighten people in devotional service to the Lord. That is his mercy. He knows that without devotional service to the Lord, human life is spoiled. A devotee travels all over the country from door to door preaching. Be Krishna conscious. Be a devotee of Lord Krishna. Don't spoil your life in simply fulfilling your animal propensities. Human life is meant for self-realization or Krishna consciousness. These are the preachings of a sadhu. He is not satisfied with his own liberation. He always thinks about others. He is the most compassionate personality towards all the fallen souls. One of his qualifications, therefore, is karunika, great mercy to the fallen souls. While engaged in preaching work, he has to meet with so many opposing elements. And therefore, the sadhu or devotee of the Lord has to be very tolerant. Someone may ill treat him because the conditioned souls are not prepared to receive the transcendental knowledge of devotional service. They do not like it. That is their disease. The sadhu has the thankless task of impressing upon them the importance of devotional service. Sometimes devotees are personally attacked with violence. Lord Jesus Christ was crucified. Haridas Thakur was caned in 22 marketplaces. And Lord Chaitanya's principal assistant, Nityananda, was violently attacked by Jagai Madai. But still, they were tolerant because their mission was to deliver the fallen souls. See, now that's a very important statement there. When Jagai Madai wounded Lord Chaitanya, wounded Nityananda, when that happened, wherever Lord Chaitanya was, he came running as fast as he could. And he was going to kill Jagai Madai. And Lord Nityananda fell at the feet of Lord Chaitanya, grabbed his feet. You have come to save the living entities. If you kill these two devils in coming, and your purpose is to save them, not to kill them. So you can see what a great devotee Nityananda is, right? And Lord Chaitanya, on the plea of Nityananda, he told Jagai Madai, okay, you see, although you injured one of my two most dear devotees, if you promise never to do anything like that again and take up Krishna consciousness, I won't kill you. The consciousness, Jagai Madai. The Lord was ready to kill Jagai Madai for hurting. They actually broke some kind of a clay pot on their head and injured them, and they were bleeding. But they still remained, let's say, peaceful. And when Lord Chaitanya was going to kill Jagai and Madai, they fell down at the feet of the Lord and begged him, please, your purpose is to liberate people. It's not to kill them. And in other words, they saved the life of these dacoits, Jagai and Madai. So that is a real devotee. It said here, a sadhu, as described above, is a devotee of the Lord. Okay. His concern, therefore, is to enlighten people in devotional service to the Lord. That is his mercy. He knows that without devotional service to the Lord, human life is spoiled. Yeah, there was this one devotee who was like a saint, and he was what you call the first recognized saint in Krishna consciousness. Now, a saint is a person who is recognized, like in the Catholic Church, if they sanctify someone, they claim that this person is a saint. That means that that person has done tremendous service to Jesus and to, uh, to people, and is recognized officially as a saint in the Catholic Church. Uh, they have, and you have to be canonized. Look that word up, canonized, as a saint. And there's real strict criterions before you can be declared a saint, and then be worthy of being worshipped as a saint. So, yeah, what does it say?
It refers to the act of officially declaring a deceased person as a saint in the Roman Catholic Church.
Right. That's after a person spends most of their life being saintly and being very merciful.
It seems to be only after they're deceased.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then they are, their services and everything are analyzed, and after they die, and then if it meets their activities are analyzed, and if it is genuine saintly, they are canonized as a saint, and they are, people pray to the saints, even though now they're dead, but they pray to them to help them also make spiritual advancement. Okay, so the definition of a sadhu is given in this purport today and in this verse. Titikshava karani meaning. So titikshava means tolerant. Karanika means merciful. Surida, friendly. Sarvadehinam, to all living entities. Ajata satrava, inimical to none. Santa, peaceful. Sadhava, abiding by scriptures. Sadhubhushana, adorned with sublime characteristics. Okay, now this is a definition of a real sadhu. So if you want to be a sadhu, you have to demonstrate in your daily life these. How many is it? It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, or something like 8 or 9 qualities that are prominent in the life of this person who is a genuine sadhu. And that's why the purport says a sadhu is described above, and it says the first, let's say, identification of sadhu is that he's a devotee of the Lord. His concern, therefore, is to enlighten people in devotional service to the Lord. That is his mercy. He knows that without devotional service to the Lord, human life is spoiled. A devotee travels all over the country from door to door preaching. Be Krishna conscious. Be a devotee of Lord Krishna. Don't spoil your life in simply fulfilling your animal propensities. Human life is meant for self-realization or Krishna consciousness. These are the preachings of a sadhu. He is not satisfied with his own liberation. He always thinks about others. He is the most compassionate personality towards all the fallen souls. One of his qualifications, therefore, is karunika, great mercy to the fallen souls. While engaged in preaching work, he has to meet with so many opposing elements. And therefore, the sadhu, or devotee of the Lord, has to be very tolerant. Someone may ill treat him because the conditioned souls are not prepared to receive the transcendental knowledge of devotions. They do not like it. That is their disease. The sadhu has the thankless task. See, now that's a nice phrase. Thankless task. Look that up. The sadhu has the thankless task of impressing upon them the importance of devotional service. What does it say? What is thankless task?
It's a job or duty that is difficult or unpleasant and often goes unrecognized or unappreciated despite the effort involved.
Yeah, like for example, Jesus Christ had the thankless task of trying to teach people uh, to be Krishna conscious, and they thanked him by crucifying. So that means it's a thankless task, but it doesn't waver. It doesn't change the determination of the saint. The saint will always be a saint, and the scorpion will always be a scorpion. Okay. But just like the scorpion cannot be changed, the saint cannot be changed either. He's always kind and gentle. And Karunika, Atikshava Karunika, Srida Sarvabhutanam, Achita Shatrava Santa, Sadavan Sadabhushanam. He is always Titikshava, tolerant, and Karunika, merciful, and Surida, friendly, and Sarva Dehinam, to all living entities. As it, see, that's an important point. He's like that to all living entities. He doesn't have friends and enemies. He's kind to all living entities. And Ajita Satrava is inimical to none. In other words, he doesn't have any enemies. There are people that might be inimical to him, but he himself is not inimical to anyone. He doesn't have any enemies. And Santa is always peaceful. And Sadhava, he abides by the scriptures. In other words, he follows the scriptural injunction. And Sadhabhushana, adorned with sublime characteristics. So now you have a way to recognize who is a real sadhu. The qualities of a real sadhu are explained in this verse. So you don't have to guess. You can tell who is a sadhu and who is not a sadhu. Okay. And that's why it says in the purport, a sadhu, as described above, is a devotee of the Lord. So the the qualities of a devotee of the Lord are enumerated here, and now you can recognize who is a sadhu and who is not a sadhu. And the main concern of the sadhu is to enlighten people in devotional service to the Lord. That is his mercy. He knows that without devotional service to the Lord, human life is spoiled. A devotee travels all over the country from door to door preaching, be Krishna conscious, be a devotee of Lord Krishna. Don't spoil your life in simply fulfilling your animal propensities. Human life is meant for self-realization or Krishna consciousness. These are the preachings of a sadhu. He is not satisfied with his own liberation. He always thinks about others. He is the most compassionate personality towards all the fallen souls. One of his qualifications, therefore, is karunika, great mercy to the fallen soul. While engaged, one good thing about the Kali Yuga is almost everybody's a fallen soul. So that means your whole life you can be preaching. And so if you were born in Satya Yuga, when almost everybody was devotee, well, there wouldn't be much preaching going on. But in Kali Yuga, it's perfect time for preaching because almost everybody you meet doesn't know much about Krishna. and is engaged in sinful activities. So it gives you great opportunity to be a preacher.
The whole world is an opportunity.
Yeah, yeah. So in one sense, it's a great time for a devotee to be in the material world because almost everybody you meet doesn't know anything about Krishna and is engaged in sinful activities without even knowing that they're simple. That's the danger in material life. Yeah, when I was a kid, my family was giving me meat. I didn't know eating meat is wrong. I thought it was good, right? But when I got a little bit older and came in touch with the devotees, I realized, oh, wait a minute, this is a sinful thing, eating meat. I'm not going to do it anymore. But if I didn't meet the devotees, but actually, I have to admit, I stopped eating meat before I met the devotees. I became not a vegan, but what do you call that? Well, anyway, I decided not to eat meat. And not because I was a devotee, but I just decided that I didn't want to eat meat anymore. Right? And then, not very, very long after that, I came in touch with the devotees. I had already given up eating meat, but I came in touch with the devotees then, and I was always praying also before I met the devotees. Said, I wanted God to show me something, something to for me to really be more serious about my life. And as soon as I voluntarily, on my own, decided not to eat meat, very soon after that, I met the devotees and I became a devotee.
Mm.
Yeah. Before that, because my family had a business, they had a grocery store, and I had to, you know, I had to cut the. I didn't kill the animals, but I had to cut them in different pieces and sell them and so forth. So uh, whether you kill the animal or you cut the animal into pieces or sell the pieces of animal flesh or deliver the animal flesh to someone, or in all those different ways, you get the full gamut of sinful activities. Okay? So I was a butcher. Yeah. I didn't actually kill the animals, but the carcasses of the animals would come into our store, and then I had to cut it into different pieces, which is basically you have to be trained how to do that. You know, uh, and then because you sell different parts of the animal. Like the sirloin steak, this thing, that thing, and I didn't know it was bad. And every day, my mom would make meat. Uh, I thought it was the right thing to do. It's only when I came in touch. Well, I like I said, I did voluntarily give up meat myself before I became Krishna conscious. Maybe
Mm,
that's
What
one
what was
reason why I became Krishna conscious.
what was the trigger point for that?
Well, I was working in our family grocery store, and I was working in the butcher part of the store where you're cutting the meat, and I cut one of my fingers. I can still see now that it was this finger. I cut it.
Mm.
Now, the same time I was a musician. When I cut my finger, I decided not to work as
Mm.
a butcher anymore because then I could lose a finger.
Mm.
And there are butchers, that sometimes they don't have a finger, they make a mistake and they cut off a part of their finger. So I didn't want that to happen. So I gave it up. I
Mm.
refused to go and work in the family
You're only working, but you also gave up eating. So what
eating
was
meat. Yeah, I did voluntarily before I knew devotees. I became I gave up eating meat. Yeah. That was my own decision. Right?
Mm.
I just felt bad by eating meat, so I just gave it up.
Wow.
And, yeah, because I was seeing, uh, when I was butchering in our store, I could see the dead carcass of an animal, and I didn't feel good, having to cut it up, and there would be blood also. And even though it was already dead and it had been bled in the slaughterhouse, but still there was blood, and the whole thing seemed horrible to me. So I told my family, I said, I don't want to do this anymore, and I stopped. You know, um, and then later on, not so much later after that, I met the devotees, and I became a devotee by Krishna's mercy. Probably because I voluntarily stopped to eat meat and cut meat and all that. Okay.
It's about time. But yeah, the saint and the scorpion story. It's
Yeah.
hard to. That's what makes the saint saint.
Yeah. He's a
Yeah,
real
because
saint. He can't stop trying to help.
help.
You know.
But most of us immediately change our behavior based on how we are being treated.
Well, he might try and kill the scorpion.
Exactly.
We change our behavior based on feedback that we are given.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the sadhu will always help, and the scorpion will always bite. So uh, just like the scorpion, the sadhu cannot stop helping. It's just like the scorpion cannot refrain from biting. So it's good to be a sadhu because the sadhu does not go from being a nice person to a nasty person. He's always a nice person. Even if he's beaten up, it's like Haridas Thakur, he was beaten up in 22 uh, business places or marketplaces, and still he was a saint and he didn't get upset. And then the people that are beating him, they were forced to beat him by their business. And finally, they saw that he didn't. After being beaten in 22 marketplaces, he still was alive. They begged him, said, "Look, if we don't kill you, we're going to be killed by our boss. So please die." You know. So Haridas said, "Oh, I don't want you to be hurt like that." And then it looked like he died. And then the person that was ordered the two guys to kill Haridas Thakur, he came and kicked Haridas's body to make sure he was dead. And then he said, "Okay, he's dead. Throw him into the river." So they threw him into the river, and Haridas floated down to a certain part of the river, and then he got out. And then he went to the house of the man that tortured him, or ordered that he be tortured like that to death. And he knocked on the door. And when the man came to the door, he got shocked. He said, "Oh my God, you're alive." Yes, don't do this to anyone again. And this man said, "Yes, yes, I won't. I promise I won't do it anymore." Yeah, Haribol. He freaked the man out completely. But of course, Haridas is a special person. It's not an ordinary person. Okay.
Hare Krishna. Any you want to say something more?
There are a lot of takeaways in this report. I mean, just amazing. So many important points. And just the verse itself, every word of the verse has deep meaning. So I think we'll go over this again tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah. Canto 3, chapter 25, verse text 21.
Yeah. Memorizable verse.
Yes, very Titikshava Karunika Surida Sarvadehinam Ajata Satrava Santa Sadava Dadabhusana. Okay, your homework is to memorize this verse. And my homework also. Haribol. Thank you all. All gracious.